I'm Julie, and I'm here to show you raw edge applique. This is what we use on the bench pillow of the month projects. I'm going to demonstrate using this pattern today. This is not one of the bench of the pillow of the month, but it's a cool little design, and it will show us how to do the process. You're going to work with the design that's in the pattern, and you'll see this is like looking basically at a coloring book, and you can use coloring books for finding designs if you like, or even online you can find a lot of designs. I'm going to focus on this, the bird that's in this little thing to show you today. The first thing I suggest is, if it matters to you that everything be the same direction that it is on the pattern, then flip the pattern over, put it up against a window so you can see through it, and just trace all those lines with a Sharpie marker so that when you're tracing them on your fabric, you're going to get a reverse. I found this out when I made this one, and the only place it mattered was on this little bird right here. So he's headed the wrong direction. All the other pieces were symmetrical and didn't have a direction to them. This is what the raw edge applique looks like. I will show you that around the bird I stitched that just so that you could see that you can stitch through it. Your machine will stitch through this adhesive just fine. But I felt like as a wall hanging I didn't need to have the turned edge. So I'm just working with the raw edge of the fabric, and this was zigzagged over. I'd like to show you one other example. And on these I also stitched along the edges with just a zigzag overcasting stitch. But I put them on the quilt using the same technique that you're going to see used today. We're going to use a product that's called Heat and Bond. It comes on a roll like this. It has adhesive on one side and it's paper on the other. And this is Heat and Bond Light. For unless you really want a heavy duty applique, I would not use anything stronger than the light Heat and Bond. You take a piece of the Heat and Bond, lay it over your pattern, you see how it shows through, and then you just trace it. And like I say, if I had done this on the reverse side of the paper, then you'd have the reverse of this bird. This is how it looks after it's been traced. One little tip I'd like to suggest is, do you see how I wrote number 6 wing, number 5 bird? When you're tracing all the pieces for a large design, like the birds that I showed you at the beginning, and you're trying to squeeze them together on the Heat and Bond so that you're getting as much use as you can out of them, sometimes it gets hard knowing which piece is which. So I always write the identification on this paper, whatever I need to know. If it overlaps another piece, I'll even draw the dotted lines on it to show where it's going to overlap another piece. Then when you cut the pieces apart, I use the little Ziploc bags, and I put all the parts for the bird in one bag, the parts for the first birdhouse in another bag, and so forth, so that all these teeny tiny little pieces are kept together and labeled. And then you're going to cut out the pieces. And I went ahead and cut them out, and I allowed just a tiny margin of the Heat and Bond to go beyond the line. Now I'm ready to iron this onto my fabric. Here are the fabrics I'm going to be using. This is going to be the bird, and this is going to be its wing, and this will be the background. So first of all, I need to flip it over to the wrong side and place the bird here. And if you're doing fussy cutting, in other words, if there's a design that you want to feature, I'd kind of like to have this flower right side up, right in the middle of the bird. So I'm going to place my pattern in order to achieve that. Once it's in place, you simply place a hot iron on it for about 5 seconds. Forgot my iron isn't heated up yet. And you don't want to be moving the iron back and forth, just hold it in place, and then you'll see that it is adhered. Now I want to make the wing, So I'm going to place this on the wrong side. And again, I'd kind of like to get this bird centered on this wing if I can. So that's what I'm going to try for. And just set my iron on it. Hold it for a few seconds. And we're good. Next thing you do is cut it out, and this time we're not going to leave a margin. I'm going to cut it directly on that pencil line. By the way, I like to trace with pencil or pen so that you have a fairly fine line, because if you use something like a Sharpie marker, you're liable to have a thick line. And then when you're doing this cutting, you don't know whether to be on one side of that line or the other. So to get it real precise, I like to have as fine a line on this paper as I can. So we've cut it out. Then we'll cut out the little wing. And the next part is peeling the backing off. And I learned this little trick. I feel so excited that I learned it and that I can pass it on to you, because sometimes it's tricky trying to peel paper off the back of this. But if you'll just take your scissors, and I'm doing this on my ironing mat so it's kind of soft, and I just use that to create a slit in the backing. And then see how easy it peels off? And can you see how shiny that looks? That's all adhesive showing on the back. I'll take this one off. And now we're going to iron it onto our backing. You place it on there. And see, I did get my little design right in the center of the bird. And now I realize, oh, that's going to be covered by wings. I guess it wouldn't matter. Then I just set my iron on it. This is a wonderful adhesive. It goes edge to edge. And you see how quickly that's on there? Then you design how you want this wing positioned. I have him be in flight, and I'll just carefully set this on. And there you have it. Your whole piece is completely ironed on, and this is going to stay put. If you accidentally put something where you didn't mean to, if you'll warm it up with the iron again, sometimes you can peel it off, but not always. So be careful where you position it before you put it on there. Then with this little bird, there were little legs to embroider, and an eye and a beak, and so forth. So you can embellish afterward. And your sewing machine will have no trouble stitching through this if you want to do a satin stitch over it to cover the edges. Then it would not be raw edge anymore. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you have some fun with this raw edge applique. And if you're interested in seeing what kind of projects that we have available for you, just check our website, justsewstudio.com.